These pillowcases really do put a smile on my face. Not only are they made of bright colored fabric, but they are super easy to make. Hello, my name is Sandra, and in this video, I'm going to teach you how you can make your very own custom pillowcase. Now, when I say custom, I mean custom. You'll get to choose your own fabrics and your own colors, and you will learn how to make a French seam. This way, your pillowcase will be beautiful both inside and out. And on top of it, I'm going to give you the dimensions on how you can make a standard size pillowcase, a queen size pillowcase, or king size. So come on, join me in my studio and we're going to get started right now. You're going to need 3 different fabrics to go into your pillowcase. Now the first fabric you're going to choose will be the body of your pillowcase. Now I've decided I want it bright and bold, and so I have chosen this fabric. Now then you're going to want fabric for your cuff. Now the cuff is the piece that is at the end of your pillowcase. I chose a solid because there was a lot going on in the body. And I looked at this bright pink, and I also took a good look at the lighter pink. Well, I decided that I was going to go with this darker pink. Next, you're going to want to pick a fabric that coordinates with your other fabrics to make the little flange on the end. And again, I took a look at a couple of different of these greens and just decided that, nope, this is not what I wanted. And I decided on this little tiny polka dot. Now remember, you can certainly mix and match the fabrics any way that you want to. And if you want to get really funky and change things up, go ahead. Because guess what? It's going to be your pillowcase. Now that you've chosen your fabrics, let me tell you what materials that you need for this project. Of course, you will need your 3 different fabrics, thread that will color coordinate with the fabric that you're using, a good pair of scissors, some straight pins, a fabric marker, purple thing, of course your sewing machine, quilter's grid, and I happen to have 2. I have a 24-inch by 6-inch and a 60-inch by 8-inch, and an iron. Now that you have chosen the 3 fabrics for your pillowcase and you have your list of materials that you need for this project, let's talk about the cuts that you will make for the different size pillowcases. Now, if you're going to be making a standard size pillowcase, then the face fabric will be cut 27 inches long by 44 inches wide. If you're going to make queen size, you will be making your main fabric cut 31 inches long by 44 inches wide. King size, 37 inches long by 44 inches wide. Now the cuff for each of the sizes is the same. You will be cutting it 9 inches long by 44 inches wide. And your flange will be cut 3 inches long by 44 inches wide. Now most of the time, your fabrics, your cotton fabrics are, 44 or 45 inches wide. Now, I have gone ahead and pre-cut my cuff and my flange. And now I'm going to go ahead and going to trim back my main fabric, and I'm going to cut for a queen size. And here's my main fabric. Don't you just love it? It's so bright and cheerful. And as you can see here, I have it folded in half, because this is would be my 44 inches. And now I'm going to cut how long it needs to be. And I said for queen size, it's going to be 31 inches. And this is where my really long quilter's guide comes in handy. And I will put the link to this quilter's guide as well as the fabric. The fabric that I'm using here today is a spoonflower fabric, and I am just really loving it. Again, I will put the link in the description below. And so let me find my 31 inches right here, right along this. And I'm going to use my fabric marker. And always make sure whenever you're using a fabric marker that you have tested it on your fabric, that it will erase. Now I know a lot of different kind out there. And so again, whichever one you choose, make sure that you test it on your fabrics first. I'm just lining that evenly, and I've got this all aligned nicely here. Okay. This fabric is really soaking up this purple marker. Okay. Now I am going to go ahead and cut it. This actually might make a nice flange for another pillow. And that's a great idea too. That if you have some pieces left over, you could make coordinating pillowcases. Like I just said, this piece left over might make a really nice flange, and I can take maybe the pink, maybe even a lighter pink, and add the green or whatever and turn this into a flange. Now I'm going to set my main fabric to the side, and I am going to now take the cuff and open it up, and I have my iron nice and hot and ready to go. And I'm just going to fold it in half. Well, first I'm going to press out this little crease center here. I'm going to match up my raw edges and just press them. Press it down. Nice press. And I'm going to do the same to my flange. Open it up, 44-inch width. Give it a nice little press. I'm going to press out that little middle seam that's there from the bolt. And just fold it in half, matching up the raw edges. Now I like cutting my flange at 3 inches. But if you want a smaller one, you can certainly make it 2 inches. Or you can even make it a little bit larger, but I think, 3 happens to be the right size. Okay, now it comes time to layer our fabrics. We're going to start with a cuff, and we're going to put it down first, and we're going to have it right side up. Now you're going to say, Sandra, how do I know it's right side up? It's a solid fabric, and it can go either way. Well, you're going to turn it up where the crease is facing you. Okay, lay it down there smoothly. And then next, you're going to take your face fabric, and you're going to lay it down, and you're going to match up the raw edges from side to side. Now I will tell you as I'm doing this, if you come across a fabric, like this particular fabric is only about 43 inches wide, don't sweat over it. It's okay. You can still make your pillow if it's, 43 inches wide. It will still come out a nice size, I have found out. Okay. I'm going to align that. And then I am going to take my flange fabric. Actually, make sure that's straight. I'm going to take my flange fabric, and I'm going to now lay it on top. Of course, this is my fold edge, and this is my raw edge. And I am just lining them all up, just like this. I'm going to make sure that they're nice and even. Okay. Now comes the front part. We get to take the fabric, the face fabric, and we're going to roll it up. And this is, my grandson has made these pillows, and he has said we're going to roll it up like a burrito. And you're just going to take the fabric, and you're just going to roll it up. And you roll it and roll it, and then you just get it to just below the flange area, and then you will take the cuff fabric and you will bring it on top, and you will match it up to the very top raw edge. And then you begin pinning all the layers together. I like to pin from this angle to where my edge of my pin faces out. Makes it easier when it comes time to sew. And I don't know how many of you know that you can sew right over your pins if you have your pins at the right angle. Okay, I'm going to pin this all the way down. Okay, now that I have it all pinned, I'm going to take it over to the sewing machine and, like I said, sew down 1/4 inch in. Okay, now that I'm at the sewing machine, I'm going to give it a little back pat. Now that's the other end. I'm going to make another little back pat. Okay. Now we are ready to remove our pins. And then we will reach inside and pull the fabric out. This is the fun part. Just got to take it and pull it. This is why my grandson said it's like a burrito. Pulling it out. It'll take a few minutes, but this is what allows the cuff and the flange to be all encased, so that there are no raw edges. Now everything will be encased. In just a few minutes, we will finish this off with a French seam. And again, that's what makes it so custom. There you go. Pull it all out. Unfold. Now we're going to take the iron and give the cuff a little press. Turn it around this way. First, let me turn it over to show you the back side. You see the back side? The seam is all encased into the inside of the cuff. And let's turn it over. And then you see this. Let's give this a little press. Just loving how these colors are meshing together. All right. Now next we will take, and with wrong sides together, we're going to fold our pillowcase in half, just like this. And we're going to go ahead and lay it back on our table. And we're going to match up the raw edges right along here. And I'm going to begin by coming to the very top, and I'm going to match my seam line here with the top. And then my edge here will match. And I'm going to stick a pin in, and like I said before, I really like putting my pins in to where the head of my pin is facing into my fabric. This way, when I stitch, I'm not hitting the head of that pin, and I can go right over my pin. My top matches nicely, Give it a pin. And again, if you use those, if you have those little clover clips, you can certainly use them. But I like pinning because I can just keep going quickly, and I don't have to stop and unclip or pull pins out. Now this time, I'm also going to pin along the bottom edge. Over, make sure it's nice and straight. And do the same. Now that it's all pinned, I can take it over to the machine and I am going to stitch 1/4 inch along the bottom edge and up the side. I'm going to give it a little back tap and sew a 1/4 inch seam. Give it a little back tack, and then I'm going to come in and put my needle down, and I'm going to put my foot up, and I'm going to pivot this corner. Right, now that I'm at the top, I'm going to give it a little back tack there, and come right off the edge. Now we can remove the pins. And then we're going to go ahead and trim down our seams. Because with a French seam, you do not want to catch or have any of the raw edges peeking out. So I'm going to take and I'm just going to trim my seams down to maybe about 1/8 inch. So along the bottom edge, just going to be real careful, and I'm not going to cut through my line of stitching. And once I do this side, I'm going to go along and do the long side. You can just trim off some of those threads and flip your pillowcase and trim. Okay, now with your iron hot, you're going to press the seams just a little bit. This can be a little bit tricky, but what I'm going to do is I am going to open up, stick my hand in, and just open this up a little bit. My hands. I want the bottom part flat. Okay, I rub my hand just like this. Then you see my seam is right here. And I'll take my iron and I'm just going to push my seam over to one side. But I'm giving it a little tug with my left hand here, so that I can press that seam over and pull it out nice and tight. Now pull it down. I'm going to make sure that my bottom side is nice and smooth whenever I do this. Work a little bit with the bottom seam. I'm going to try to just push it in a little bit to make sure that the bottom side is nice and flat. Some of this fabric, if you don't, then you'll be putting creases in the other side. A little press. This just really helps when you're making, doing the final stitching. Okay, now let's turn it inside out. Just like this. You know, because when we use these, our sewing, what do we have for our seams? We have our right sides together. But this is how a French seam is made. You will put your wrong sides together first, and so your first line of stitching, and then turn your fabric where the wrong side is out. And you see, by pressing that seam before I turned it, it's given me this really nice edge here. It's going to make it a lot easier for me to press down and get it flat. There are just some steps you need to take before you turn something. And I'm just pressing that edge down nicely. And I'm going to get to my corner. And this is where my purple thing comes in. This is a really handy tool. It's great for poking in corners, and you can use it to run ribbon or elastic. I'm going to stick it right in and just push out that corner. Again, I will have a link to this tool down in the description below. As you can see, I'm just pushing that right up in there because I want a nice flat corner. Okay, I'm going to go to the other corner and push that up too. We want it as flat as possible. So we get that. And I can lay this edge down and give it a nice press as well. Just give it a little press. Ready to turn it and pin it and do the last step. Again, I'm going to line everything up nicely, and I'm going to put some pins in there. All right, just a few pins. I don't think this is going to travel very far. Okay, I'm going to take this over to the sewing machine, and I am going to sew another 1/4 inch along the bottom and the side. So just like we did the first seam, we are going to do the second seam the same way. We're going to sew in about 1/4 inch. I'm going to give it just a little back tack. Stitch along the bottom. And when I get to the corner, I'm going to put my needle down, lift my presser foot, and pivot that corner and sew up the long side. Give it a little back tack. Okay, now that we're done, I can take it back over to the table and stuff the pillowcase. Now that your final seam is sewn, all you have to do is to put your hands inside and insert your pillow. Give it a little shake. So there you have it, your very own custom pillowcases. I certainly hope that you have enjoyed this video. If you have, please subscribe to my channel and hit that bell icon. This way you'll be notified the very next time I'm in my studio ready to share another fun project with you. Hope to see you soon.